Commission Ursula von der Leyen, Prime Minister of Canada Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Denmark Mette Frederiksen, Prime Minister of Estonia Kristen Michal, Prime Minister of Iceland Kristrún Frostadóttir, Prime Minister of Norway Jonas Gahr Støre, Prime Minister of Spain Pedro Sanchez, Prime Minister of Sweden Ulf Kristersson. So we will begin without opening remarks. I think that's the greatest show of unity and freedom in this city, that we have certain leaders speaking to the press together. And let's start without further delay by going to, we have Euronews with us, right? Okay, I see it, in the middle. So please everyone stand up when you ask your questions, get the microphone and go on.
Hello, can you... On? Yeah. Can you hear me? Yes. Hello, everybody. My question is addressed to President of the European Commission, Ursula von der Leyen. You have spent the last 3 years building an unprecedented sanctions regime against Russia, really, and you have promised time and time again to make Russia pay for its aggression. But now the United States is asking Europe to leave sanctions as part of a potential peace agreement. In fact, the US is saying that Europe will be invited to the table only when it comes to sanctions relief. Are you willing to do that just because the White House tells you so? And what demands are you going to impose on the Kremlin to do that? And just a quick question for President Zelensky. Do you think Russia deserves any sort of relief after the untold devastation it has brought upon your country? Thank you so much.
So what the sanctions questions is concerned, what we see is that the sanctions already have a massive effect on the Russian economy. There are skyrocketing inflation, there is spiraling interest rates, so the effect is visible. Companies are leaving Russia. You see they are really grinding sanctions and biting sanctions. These sanctions are part of our approach that we want peace through strength. And it's very clear that unless Russia demonstrates by facts the true willingness to achieve a lasting and just peace agreement, we will increase punitive sanctions against Russia. So the precondition is first we have to see that there's action on the side of Russia towards a just and lasting peace agreement. Presently, there is no lasting peace agreement, so that it's much too early to speak about anything of potentially maintaining or increasing or lifting sanctions. This discussion can only be led after we've seen concrete steps on the Russian side.
You know, well, we are very often, and also today we speak that we need just and lasting peace. And when we speak about the just, and this war, it's difficult to find just in this war because of such steps of Russia. Their war, their way of this war, how many people they killed, just killed, and thousands in the prison, and stolen children. And that's why we'll never forget it, and we can't forget it. And even if I hope that our partners on the same page with us, and not only hope, I see it, but we'll never forget it, and we will really do everything that people who began this war, who unprovoked war, all these people, yes, really will answer, and of course we will work on tribunal even after the hard part of this war. Even when we will go to the diplomacy, we'll never forget these surnames and these people.
Let's now go to Italian media La Stampa. You're with us. Yeah, I see you. Go on.
Thank you very much. Marco Bresolin, Italian newspaper La Stampa. I have a question for the President of the European Council, Antonio Costa. You represent 27 EU member states. You repeated that EU want to be at the table when peace talks will start. You also said that maybe you are going to find someone who will represent the EU. But here there are many other representatives of other European non-EU countries. Some others intervene by video. Do you think that this seat should belong to the EU, or are you ready to share a common seat with other European leaders in order to bring a European position at the peace talks negotiation? Thank you.
Thank you very much. Of course, only Ukraine can decide when there are conditions to start effective, credible, and sustainable peace negotiations. All of us welcome the huge efforts from President Trump to push Putin and Russia to negotiation, and I wish that these bilateral talks open the door for a really peace negotiation. But only Ukraine can decide when we have conditions to do this. But this war is not only about Ukraine, it's also about European security. And for this, it is essential that Europe, as present in the negotiations and participate in negotiations. Not only the European Union, also our friends like Norway, Iceland, United Kingdom, because all of them are very engaged in the support of Ukraine, and they are very concerned about European security. Then I believe that if we reach to have a joint special envoy representing not only the European Union but also the other European countries, we strengthen our European position, and we will discuss this in the next European Council on the 6th of March that I yesterday invited the leaders to participate. And this special European Council is about how to strengthen our capacity to invest more, better, faster and stronger in our own capabilities, how to strengthen the Ukrainian capacity, but also how we can be prepared for participate actively in the future peace negotiations if and when they arrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Next one to Danish media, Mathilde Kimmer from the R. Yeah.
Yes. My question is to the Danish Prime Minister. Today you presented this willingness to support the Scandinavian and the Baltic countries to support a newly established brigade, Ukrainian brigade. But where are you on the question of boots on the ground in a potential European peacekeeping mission?
Thank you for that question. Well, from a Danish perspective, we are open-minded, and as I have said from the beginning of this war, we will be with our friends in Ukraine as long as it takes and to the end. I think for now, the most important thing is to ensure that Ukraine will get what they need on the ground. And therefore, I urge everyone to contribute more on donations, weapons, air defense, things we have discussed for several months and years now. I think that's the most important thing. And of course, a lot of questions has to be, answered before we can take a concrete solution when it comes to boots on the ground. And as Antonio Costa just said, this war is about Ukraine and it's also about European security. And therefore, we need to look at the entire eastern flank when it comes to deterrence and defense. But we are open-minded.
Thank you. Delphi Media, Herman Kelomis. Delphi, yeah.
Hello, Herman Kelomis from Delphi in Estonia. In my country, it is a day with a double meaning. We have our Independence Day. So my question is to President Zelensky and Prime Minister Michal. Should there be an unjust peace in Ukraine? Do you think Estonia's independence could be threatened, and how soon?
Thank you.
It's your birthday, you start.
Yeah, it's Estonia's birthday today, 107. The short answer probably would be that all of EU and NATO are under threat if Russia's and Putin's goals and objectives will not be changed. Longer one probably is that Estonia knows its neighbor well, as everybody does. We have invested in defense for many years, and we will. Our aim is to go to 5% of GDP. Next year it's probably near 4 already. And we know that independence is invaluable. That's why I'm here, not in Estonia celebrating Estonia's birthday, to support Ukraine, because we have the common enemy and common fight. Ukraine is fighting the fight also for Europe and Nordics and Baltics, everybody. So to answer the question, the unjust peace probably would hit everybody, also United States, because Iran, North Korea, everybody would assess that they can do whatever they want. So everybody in this probably are together. And to EU and everybody, just a thought that if you count the men who bear arms in Russia right now, if the war would end right now, there are more than it was before the war. What will they do? Will they become physical education teachers? Probably not. They will find new jobs. So this is a threat all over the world. Before the war, it was called Wagner's, whatever they were called. But right now, it's somewhat different. So to conclude, European Union, NATO, everybody in civilized and democratic world are under the threat until Russia is forced to change its goals. Thank you.
Again, my congratulations to you, your country, your people. We are very proud that today you are here in such a special day. Thank you so much, and my congratulations, and God bless. You'll never have a war. And what is very important, I think in risk, answering your question, yes, all the countries which been before 1990, 1991, which been under Russian influence. Yeah, so I think Russia, first of all, wants to have their influence continued and be present on these territories of these, on these independent countries, which been before, during Soviet period, being the republics of Soviet Union, and of course it's Ukraine and Moldova, and of course Estonia, Litva, Latvia, and of course where their influence was very strong during the 20th centuries, it's Poland, it's Slovak, and other countries. So the most dangerous moment when you have people who have Russian roots, it's not bad. I'm just how it was with Crimea. I'm just sharing with you our experience. When you have some society, and of course, if you are bordering with Russia, you have such society. I mean, it's with other nations, it's the same. So when you have Russian-speaking people, or their roots, or their families which half of Estonian, half Russian, like we had Ukrainian, father Ukrainian, and Russian mother. It can be so. It's our history very long. I mean, you are in risk because it was with Crimea, it was with the East, with Donbass at the very beginning. They said that they are not occupying our territories, that they defend Russian-speaking people. That's why I think that Estonian people have these risks if we will fall down, Ukrainian. I think all such countries who I mentioned, I think have this risk because of Russian policy, because their view of the world, Russian world.
Thank you, Mr. President. And we now go to Iceland. Dagny Erlendsdottir from Iceland National Broadcaster. Yes.
I have a question for the Prime Minister of Iceland, Kristrún Frostadóttir. Your government has decided to increase funding to help Ukraine. On what projects will that be spent?
Thank you. Yeah, so this is
We're obviously very much aware of our geographical situation in the world. And even though we might be a small country, we think it's very important that we show through direct action, not just with words, that we're stepping up. We are a country without a military, but we are a country that has high welfare because we have security. And I think there's increased understanding that defense for peace in Europe is extremely important. So we're making this step of doubling our contributions when it comes to defense for Ukraine. And our hope is that we will mostly use these funds to go through the Danish initiative, which we know has been very effective, both financially and for the Ukraine, but also through our demining efforts that we've worked on with Lithuania. So that will be our chief focus. But then we are also obviously supporters through the MB8 of the brigade. We don't have arms or a military, but we will be financially supporting that. So this is an important step for Iceland to take. And like I said before, important to show solidarity with Ukraine.
Thank you, Excellency. Let's go now to Canada. Marie-Ève Bédard from Radio Canada.
Hi, good afternoon. If you'll indulge me 1 second, je vais commencer en français, Monsieur le Premier ministre, avec vous. Vous avez parlé plus tôt ce matin de la volonté du Canada de collaborer avec les partenaires européens dans le cas où la paix sera atteinte. Est-ce que ça veut dire pour vous des soldats? I'll translate very quickly. Did you mean this morning that Canada was willing to send boots on the ground should there be peace to cooperate with European allies to guarantee Ukraine's security? And if I may, a question for both of you, President Zelensky and Prime Minister Trudeau. How significant and important is it to have a North American ally at this table now, given the fact that in the past month, both of you have had conversations that sounded like they came from an adversary with the United States and its president, Donald Trump? What's the significance of Canada's presence here today?
Well, first of all, Canada has been there for Ukraine from day one, indeed from before day one, as in 2015 we started training Ukrainian military forces on the ground in Ukraine, which was a significant part. Western training to the Ukrainian armed forces is one of the reasons why Ukraine has been able to stand up to the Russian invaders so effectively over the past years. It's not just Canada, a number of countries have been involved. But for historical reasons, Canada having the second largest diaspora of Ukrainians in the world means that we felt deeply connected to Ukraine, but we also believe deeply that it's not just about Ukraine. It's about the rules and the values and the principles of sovereignty, of independence, of territorial integrity that protects every country in the world. All of us rely on those rules to be able to build peace and security. And we know that with the world changing, we're all going to have to do more around peace and security. One of the key themes that we heard today, as we've heard from many, many partners around the world in NATO and elsewhere over the past number of years, is people are going to be doing more on defense. 9.5 years ago, when I took office in Canada, the previous government had us down below 1% of defense spending, even though the NATO 2% pledge had been made a year or two before. In the subsequent time, we have more than tripled defense spending on the path to 2030, and we're on our way to 2%. And we know we're going to have to continue to do more and more in an uncertain world, and Canada will be there. As to how we will be there, we will work with our neighbors on it, but everything is on the table because we need to make sure that might no longer makes right in this world. That's what has led to 80 years of incredible stability and prosperity, not just in Europe, but around the world because of the institutions we built out of the ashes of World War II. And standing up for those institutions is in the best interest of every single one of us. Now, as a collection of different nations, we will have different perspectives from time to time on the best way forward, and those will be worked out in forums like this or at the G7 forum or elsewhere. But we are united in our values. We are united in wanting to see peace and fairness and prosperity for all our citizens, and that's what continues to drive us forward. Le Canada va toujours être là pour l'Ukraine. On est là depuis les débuts. On va continuer de l'être et on regardera comment on peut mieux aider dans les années à venir. Parce que défendre l'Ukraine, c'est pas juste défendre l'Ukraine, c'est défendre les principes et les valeurs qui nous protègent tous.
Merci à vous. Victor Guerrero, Télévision Española. Ah, sorry. Mr. President, I'm sorry.
Really, it was a pleasure.
That's okay. No, he can tell us how much he likes Canada. Because
I love Canada. And I really appreciate that we have such relations with you, Justin. And you helped a lot, and a lot of your people helped us at the very beginning of war. We never shared, by the way, that we've been in touch. And really, at the very beginning of the war, we didn't have really huge technologies with drones and etc. When we began to produce drones, and even when we bought drones with some partners, they didn't have Canadian high-level optic technologies. And Canada helped us with this, and we spoke a lot of this, and we had this, and we began to help our guys on the front line, on the battlefield, with these drones and etc. It was really first weeks and first months of the first year of war. Then, Justin, absolutely right about training missions. Really, the part of our army was prepared by Canadian officers, instructors. But what is very important, and it was very important again the first year, because they've been well trained. For today, the situation changed. After that, after Canada, we had such missions in Europe, in different countries, and then so the experience of this war gave us new knowledge of the war. And of course, today when we trained abroad, we have to come back and train again on the battlefield, because the war is changing. It's technological war. That's why. But we really appreciate for your help and packages, military packages. So thank you so much. And I think that's all, yes?
Well, with regards to Donald Trump and having a partner and partner here.
With Donald Trump? This is, by the way, this is question to you, to Canada. I mean, that's with Donald Trump. Now we had a conversation. It was very good conversation, G7 conversation with the leading role of Canada. Yes, thank you very much, Justin, for organizing this meeting. Everybody been there, and we spoke about it, and we hope that the United States will continue support, like all the partners. All the partners do it, and we need also not to lose this unity between